Hi, and welcome to day 19 of the 100 Days of Python Coding Challenge. I'm Bill Mosley. If you want to get access to the entire list of the 100 Days of Python Coding Challenges, you can find that at my website, www.bmosley.com/hdp, and you can also find a link in the notes for this video below. Let's get started on day 19. Now, last time we created this cool little program that draws flowers all over a blue field, and through scale and positioning we made it sort of look like they were going off into the distance. So let's run that so we can see just a reminder of what that does as it is. And as this is drawing, I'll remind you that you can get the starting code for this assignment or this project from the website as well. So each listing has the start and finish code, but you can see here it kind of draws all these little yellow flowers on the blue field and creates a nice effect of them kind of going off into the distance. So today we're going to do something relatively simple. We're going to take this code and we're going to modify it to allow users to provide input into how this picture looks. So we're going to ask the users for input, and then they can affect how this picture comes together. So let's do that, and we'll do a little bit of input checking and things like that on the way. But there's a few things that I think would be fun to ask the user to provide input on. One of those would be the number of petals on the flowers. Another would be the color of the flowers. And a third one might be how many flowers there are. So let's take a look at how we can do those things and integrate that into our program relatively easily. So right here between speed and screen is where I'm going to start gathering my user input. And I'm going to say really quickly, welcome to my flower maker, and throw a new line at the end of that. And then what I'm going to say is I'm going to get str petals. Okay, str petals. And actually, I'm just going to go int petals, and we'll convert that on the fly. So we're going to say int, and then we're inside that, we're going to put the input statement. And for the input prompt, we're going to say how many petals on each flower. And we're going to say between 4 and 10. And so what we need to do now is make sure that the user doesn't input a number lower than 4 or a number higher than 10. So the easy way to do that is to throw that inside a while true loop. And we're not going to let them out of that loop until they give us what we want. So we're going to say if int petals is less than 4, or int petals is greater than 10, then print please enter a number between 4 and 10. And then if the number isn't outside of that range, else, then we'll just break out of that loop and move on to the next question. So there is our first one, and that's good. Now we're going to get another question here. We're going to say what color. Okay, so we're going to go while true, because we want to make sure that they enter something valid. Str color equals, and we're going to say input, and we don't need to convert that to anything because it's going to be a string. What color should the flowers be? Okay, and we want to make sure that they enter something. Now, there is a way actually to check and make sure that they enter a valid color name. For this assignment, we're just going to trust that if they enter something, that it's going to be a valid color name. That's giving way more trust than you should ever give to a user in a real situation. But for now, given where we're at in the learning process here, we're going to keep it simple, and we will foolishly trust the user to enter something useful. So we're just going to say if the length of str color and str color is greater than, well, red is the shortest color that I can think of that's valid. So if it's less than 3, then we're going to say print, please enter a valid color name. And if the string that they enter is 3 characters or more, and what we can also do is make sure we strip off we can strip off any white space at the beginning or end of the thing, so we're not getting any invalid characters. But if it's longer than 3 or it's 3 or greater, then we'll just break and move on to the next thing. So the last thing we want to get from the user is we want to get some sense of how many flowers there are. Now, what we've got is a range from 10 to 400, which whatever we enter has to be between those two things, but we don't want them to necessarily have to enter, we don't want them to have to enter a number that's between 10 and 400 that represents exactly the number of flowers in an ideal situation. Maybe we want to figure out how to take a number between 1 and 10 and scale that up to 400. And then we would have to, of course, spread out the flowers so that they are scaling properly between 10 and 400. So that's a way we could do it. I think for this, I'm actually going to just have them enter a number between 10 and 400. And then we can figure out how to scale that. Okay, so we need to get them to enter a number between 1 and 10. So we're going to use some of the same code here that we used because it's a very similar process. We want a number between 1 and 10. We're going to go int flowers or int n. We'll just say int for the number of flowers. Int n, and it needs to be greater than 0 and needs to be less than 11. So we're going to say 1 to 10. Okay, and the question that we're going to ask the user is, how many flowers? And between 1 and 10, there we go. And so now we have the number of flowers. So we need to scale that. We need to make it make sense between the number of flowers and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 10. If they enter 10, it's going to be 400 here. And if it's not, if it's, let's say they enter 5, then it should be half of that number, which is 200. Okay, because this dictates the number of flowers that we're creating. So we're going to take this number, int n, and we're going to modify it. We're going to say int n equals int n times 40. Because if 10 is equal to 400, then that's how we get there. So that'll take that factor, modify it to get to that height or that space. And then the other issue is we need to, we've got the scale is fine here, but the position, if we only have 200 flowers, it'll only go down 200 spaces. And we want those flowers to be fully scaled, but we also want them to be, um, all the way down at the bottom of the screen when they reach full scale. So what we need to do is figure out how to change that scale and change the position so that they reach full size and hit the bottom of the screen. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a factor that shifts our scale um, and our position for the flower so that it becomes part of uh, what it is we wanted to do. So we're going to say if we want it to end up at 400, and then we are going to say that over int n should give us the correct scale factor. So now we're going to say every time we have y here, we're going to say y times that FL factor and y times FL factor, and that should give us what we want in the program. Now let's make sure that we have our petals set and the flower color. So flower color is here, str color, and int petals. It's already integrated. This is still here, but when we define it here, it's going to override that. So let's fire this up and see if it actually works the way we intended it to. Okay, so how many petals on each flower? Let's do 4 petals. Let's make it quick. What color should the flowers be? Let's make them white. How many flowers? Let's do 5. So let's see what we get here. Oop, that's not quite right. I have something in the wrong place. Can you guess what it is? Otherwise, it does seem to be working pretty well. It's still drawing flowers, and it looks like it's scaling them properly. That looks pretty good. Okay, so other than the fact that we're only getting half flowers, I'm pretty happy with this. So let's come back up here, and there we go. The angle is being defined based on the position of only eight petals. So we're going to take that angle, and we need to move that down here so that it's after, anytime after this is good, but I'm going to put it down here with my other calculations so I can have them all kind of in one place. So that worked pretty well. Everything else seems to be working pretty well. So let's run it one more time and give it a shot. So let's do 5 odd numbered flowers, and let's do pink flowers, and let's go down to 3. That'll make it go really quick. Okay, pink flowers, 5 petals. All right, this is really looking exactly the way we wanted it to. And so you can see with just those few little inputs, we can get all kinds of different fun things going on. And there you go. There's our field of flowers. Thanks for coding along with me, and we'll see you next time.